Your life isn't stuck. It's updating. An Identity and Consciousness Upgrade. By David Russo. Introduction. Booting up your soul. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your life as a screen in front of you. On that screen, you see the job that hasn't shifted, the relationship that feels repetitive, the bank account that hasn't expanded, the opportunity that still hasn't appeared. And somewhere inside, a quiet voice whispers, "I must be stuck." But you are not stuck. Life does not freeze. It recalibrates. What you are witnessing is not a system failure. It is an update in progress. And here is the deeper truth. The screen is physical. The code is energetic. But the programmer is consciousness. Not the ego. Not the anxious mind. Not the fearful inner critic. Consciousness. The awareness beneath your thoughts. The presence observing your circumstances. The stillness that remains when everything else feels uncertain. You are not merely the character moving across the screen of your life. You are the awareness watching that character grow. And awareness evolves. Most people attempt to change the screen. They push harder, force outcomes, refresh the page of their lives again and again. But what you see in your outer world is not today's belief system. It is yesterday's identity echoing forward. Reality is delayed feedback. By the time something appears physically, it has already been forming energetically. So, when nothing seems to be happening, something profound may be integrating beneath the surface. Sometimes stagnation is stabilization. Sometimes delay is divine timing. Sometimes life pauses, because the version of you who can hold the blessing is still under construction. This is not punishment. This is preparation. Your nervous system is upgrading. Your beliefs are recalibrating. Your identity is shedding what no longer fits. The soul does not rush expansion. It builds capacity. And capacity requires integration. There is an intelligence organizing your life that is far greater than your limited perspective. Some call it divine timing. Some call it higher self. Some call it God. Some simply call it consciousness awakening to itself. Whatever language you prefer, the truth remains. You are not behind. You are becoming. This book is not about forcing manifestation. It is not about bypassing pain with positivity. It is not about pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It is about understanding the architecture of your experience. It is about recognizing that thoughts are scripts, but you are not the script. Emotions are signals, but you are not the storm. Circumstances are reflections, but you are not the mirror. You are the awareness behind it all. And when awareness shifts, reality follows, not because you manipulate life, but because life responds to identity. There comes a moment in spiritual growth when you stop asking, "Why isn't this happening for me?" and you begin asking, "Who am I becoming through this?" That question changes everything, because identity is not fixed. It is programmed, and what has been programmed can be rewritten. You are not here to control the timing of every event. You are here to align with the version of yourself who no longer needs to. Surrender is not giving up. It is trusting the intelligence that sees beyond your current screen. Faith is not blind belief. It is embodied certainty before physical evidence arrives. Growth is not always loud. Often, it feels like silence, isolation, emptiness. But before every expansion comes space. Before elevation comes stillness. Before manifestation comes internal reorganization. If your life feels quiet right now, do not mistake quiet for absence. The update is running, and some upgrades require the system to go temporarily offline. You are not being denied. You are being refined. You are not waiting. You are integrating. You are not stuck. You are updating. Spiritually. As you listen to this audiobook, allow yourself to soften. Release the urgency to fix everything. Release the need to force outcomes. Release the belief that something has gone wrong. Instead, become curious. Who are you believing yourself to be? What version of you is completing its cycle? What new identity is quietly forming beneath the surface? Because the truth beneath every metaphor in this book is this: there is no external system holding your future hostage. There is no cosmic delay designed to test your worth. There is only consciousness, experiencing expansion through you. And consciousness does not move backward. It evolves. Your life isn't stuck. It's updating. And by the end of this journey, you won't just try to change your circumstances. You will remember who you are behind them. The programmer was never asleep. It was awakening. And now, so are you. Chapter 1. Check your code. Who are you believing you are? Before you change your life, you must examine the lens through which you're living it. Most people try to improve results without ever questioning identity. They ask, what am I doing wrong? What strategy am I missing? What habit do I need to fix? But the deeper, more transformative question is this: who am I believing myself to be? Because every action you take flows from identity. Every boundary you set, or fail to set, reflects identity. Every opportunity you pursue, or avoid, reveals identity. You do not rise to your goals. You default to your self-concept. If you believe you are behind, you will interpret neutral events as proof of delay. If you believe you are overlooked, you will filter out evidence of favor. If you believe you are unworthy, you will unconsciously reject what you once prayed for. Identity is the code running silently beneath your behaviors, and most of it was installed long before you were conscious enough to question it. Family narratives, cultural expectations, past failures, moments of embarrassment, old heartbreaks, labels spoken over you in childhood. Somewhere along the way, you accepted a story. I'm not the confident one. I'm bad with money. Love doesn't work for me. Success is for other people. I always have to struggle. And repetition turned those sentences into structure. But here is the spiritual truth. An identity repeated is not an identity proven. It is simply an identity practiced. You are not your past patterns. You are the awareness noticing them. There is a difference. When you begin observing your thoughts instead of automatically believing them, something powerful happens. You separate from the script, and once you separate from the script, you regain authorship. Awareness is the true programmer. The ego says, this is just who I am. Awareness says, this is who I've been practicing. The ego clings to familiarity, even when it hurts. Awareness is willing to evolve. So pause for a moment. If your current reality is a reflection of a previous identity, what identity has been running the show? The one who expects rejection, the one who fears visibility, the one who equates busyness with worth, the one who believes rest must be earned, the one who prepares for disappointment before allowing hope. No judgment, just observation, because the moment you can see the code, you are no longer trapped inside it. And here is what most people misunderstand. Changing identity is not about pretending to be someone else. It is about releasing who you are not. You were not born doubting your value. You learned it. You were not born afraid of failure. You were conditioned into caution. You were not born believing abundance was scarce. You absorbed that belief from environments that operated in fear. Your core self, beneath all programming, is whole, confident, capable, connected. The work is not to become someone new. It is to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Identity shifts quietly at first. You begin saying no where you used to overextend. You speak up where you once stayed silent. You rest without guilt. You choose differently, even when it feels unfamiliar. And at first, it feels unnatural. That's because you are interrupting old code. Every time you act from the upgraded identity instead of the inherited one, you are rewriting your inner architecture. Not through force, through repetition. This is not about hype. It is about embodiment. Ask yourself, if I truly believed I was supported, how would I move today? If I truly believed I was capable, what would I attempt? If I truly believed I was worthy, what would I allow? Then take one small action from that place. Not to prove anything, but to practice becoming. Because identity is not declared once. It is demonstrated daily. And the version of you that feels distant, the confident, aligned, peaceful version, is not waiting somewhere in the future. It is waiting for permission in the present. You are not stuck in old outcomes. You are living from old assumptions. Shift the assumption, and the actions follow. Shift the actions, and the evidence builds. Shift the evidence, and the identity stabilizes. Check your code, not with criticism, with curiosity. Because the moment you realize you are the awareness behind the programming, you understand something liberating. You are not the limitation. You are the one who can rewrite it. And this is where the upgrade begins. Chapter 2. Yesterday's output. Divine timing and delay. Look at your life as it stands today. Not the life you're visualizing. Not the life you're working toward. But the one currently visible. This moment, as solid and real as it feels, is not a verdict. It is feedback. What you are experiencing right now is yesterday's identity finishing its cycle. Every belief you held 6 months ago, every fear you rehearsed last year, every doubt you quietly accepted as truth, they don't disappear instantly when you decide to grow. They echo. Reality lags behind consciousness. And that lag can feel like delay. You pray for change. You affirm expansion. You commit to growth. Yet the external world seems unmoved. This is where many people quit. They assume nothing is happening. But what if what you're witnessing is simply old output completing its process? Imagine planting a seed. You don't dig it up every morning to check if it's working. You trust the unseen development beneath the soil. Spiritual growth functions the same way. The unseen always precedes the seen. Divine timing is not about withholding. It is about readiness. Life will not deliver what your nervous system cannot hold. It will not expand you beyond what your identity can sustain. It will not accelerate you into blessings that would overwhelm your current capacity. That's not punishment. That's protection. There is wisdom orchestrating your unfolding. Sometimes you think you're waiting on the manifestation. In truth, the manifestation may be waiting on you, waiting for your self-concept to rise, waiting for your boundaries to strengthen, waiting for your fear to loosen its grip, waiting for your faith to stabilize, because what arrives prematurely often collapses. But what arrives in alignment endures. Delay is uncomfortable because the ego craves evidence. It wants movement. It wants reassurance. It wants signs that confirm progress. But growth rarely announces itself loudly. Sometimes it looks like therapy sessions no one sees. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over proving a point. Sometimes it looks like walking away from what once defined you. Sometimes it looks like silence. Silence is not absence. Silence is integration. There are seasons where your external world appears still because your internal world is reorganizing. Old attachments are dissolving. Old patterns are weakening. Old emotional reflexes are recalibrating. You may not see fireworks, but you are becoming more stable. And stability is the foundation of sustainable expansion. Think about the times in your life when something arrived before you were ready. A relationship you couldn't maintain. An opportunity you self-sabotaged, an increase in responsibility that triggered anxiety instead of confidence. It wasn't that you were incapable, it was that your identity hadn't caught up. Divine timing ensures that when something lands in your life, you don't shrink to keep it, you stand tall enough to receive it. So, if it feels like nothing is moving, ask yourself, what is strengthening within me right now? What capacity is being built? What fear is being exposed so it can be released? What belief is being challenged so it can be upgraded? Trust is not passive. Trust is an active decision to believe that unseen progress is still progress. You are not being ignored. You are being aligned. And alignment often feels slower than ambition. But slower does not mean stagnant. It means precise. Your life is not on pause. It is in preparation. Yesterday's output is completing. Today's awareness is recalibrating. Tomorrow's reality is forming. Divine timing is not a clock outside of you. It is the synchronization of your inner identity with your outer experience. When those two meet, movement feels effortless. Until then, breathe, strengthen, stabilize. The door is not locked. The timing is refining you, and when it opens, you won't just walk through it. You'll be ready to stay. Chapter 3. Debugging the Ego. There is a voice in your mind that narrates everything. It comments. It compares. It predicts worst-case scenarios. It replays old conversations. It rehearses arguments that haven't happened yet. Most people assume that voice is who they are. It isn't. It is the ego. The ego is not evil. It is not your enemy. It is a survival mechanism, a psychological structure, designed to protect you from pain, rejection, and uncertainty. But protection is not the same as truth. The ego speaks in absolutes. This always happens to me. I'll never figure this out. They don't respect me. I'm not ready. I'm behind. It builds identity out of past experiences and then defends that identity at all costs, even when that identity keeps you small. Here is the shift that changes everything. You are not the voice. You are the one who hears it. That distinction is the doorway to awakening. When a thought appears, I'm not good enough, something notices it. When anxiety rises, something is aware of the anxiety. When self-doubt speaks, something observes the doubt. That something is awareness. And awareness is not anxious. Awareness is not insecure. Awareness is not threatened. It simply sees. The ego reacts. Awareness witnesses. The ego contracts. Awareness allows. The ego tries to control the future by replaying the past. Awareness lives in the present moment, where actual power exists. Debugging the ego does not mean silencing it completely. It means questioning it. Instead of automatically believing every thought, you begin to ask, is this true? Or is this familiar? Familiar thoughts feel convincing because you've practiced them, but repetition does not equal reality. The ego is patterned. It runs old scripts based on memory. If you were embarrassed once, it scans for future embarrassment. If you were rejected once, it anticipates rejection again. If you failed once, it prepares you to fail again. Its goal is simple: avoid pain. But in avoiding pain, it often avoids growth. The ego would rather be certain and limited than uncertain and expanding. Awareness, however, is comfortable with uncertainty, because awareness knows you are not defined by outcomes. You are defined by consciousness itself. When you sit quietly and observe your thoughts without engaging them, something powerful happens. You realize they come and go. They rise. They peak. They dissolve. If you were your thoughts, you would disappear with them, but you remain. This is your power. You are the sky. Thoughts are weather. Storms can pass through the sky without damaging it. Likewise, fear can move through your awareness without defining it. Self-doubt can arise without becoming identity. Anger can surface without becoming character. Debugging the ego is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming less entangled. You feel fully, but you do not fuse with every feeling. You think deeply, but you do not worship every thought. You experience insecurity, but you no longer build a home inside it. As this separation strengthens, something shifts in your life. You respond instead of react. You pause instead of explode. You choose instead of default. That pause, that sacred gap between thought and action, is where freedom lives. In that space, you are no longer operating on unconscious code. You are consciously choosing your next line, and every conscious choice rewrites identity. The ego will resist this at first. It will say, "This isn't you." It will whisper, "Be careful." It will try to pull you back into old reactions. That's okay. Thank it for trying to protect you, then choose from awareness anyway. You are not here to destroy the ego. You are here to outgrow its limitations. When awareness leads, the ego softens. It becomes a tool instead of a tyrant, and you begin to live not as a bundle of conditioned reactions, but as a conscious being, awake inside your own experience. Debug the script, step back from the noise, remember the observer, because the moment you realize you are not the voice in your head, you reclaim the authority to decide which voice guides your life. Chapter 4: Emotional Frequency. Your emotions are not random. They are not inconveniences. They are not weaknesses. They are not interruptions to your spiritual growth. They are signals. Every emotion you feel carries information, not about what is happening outside of you, but about what is active within you. Emotion is energy in motion, and energy has frequency. Some emotions contract your system. Fear tightens the chest. Shame lowers the gaze. Jealousy narrows perception. Resentment hardens the body. Other emotions expand you. Gratitude softens the heart. Love widens perspective. Trust relaxes the nervous system. Joy opens possibility. Your emotional state influences how you interpret reality. Two people can experience the same event. One sees rejection. The other sees redirection. The difference is not circumstance. It is internal frequency. Now, this is important. Spiritual growth is not about suppressing low emotions and pretending to feel high ones. That is bypassing. True alignment begins with awareness. If fear is present, notice it. If anger is rising, feel it. If grief is heavy, honor it. Emotions that are felt move. Emotions that are resisted linger. The problem is not fear. The problem is identifying as fear. When you say, "I am anxious," you fuse with the state. When you say, "Anxiety is present," you create space. Space restores power. From that space, you can ask, what belief is fueling this emotion? What story am I telling myself? What identity is being activated? Fear often signals attachment to control. Resentment often signals violated boundaries. Jealousy often signals a desire you haven't admitted to yourself. Your emotions are teachers, but they are not rulers. The key is regulation, not repression. When your nervous system is dysregulated, you interpret neutral events as threats. A delayed text becomes rejection. Constructive feedback becomes humiliation. Silence becomes abandonment. But when your nervous system feels safe, perception changes. You respond instead of react. This is why inner work matters. You don't manifest what you want. You align with what you consistently embody. If you desire peace, but live in constant internal conflict, your energy communicates tension. If you desire love but expect betrayal, your body prepares for defense. If you desire abundance but rehearse scarcity, your choices reflect fear. Frequency is not mystical. It is embodied emotion practiced repeatedly. Gratitude is powerful, not because it magically alters the universe, but because it shifts your nervous system into openness. Trust is transformative not because it guarantees outcomes, but because it moves you from contraction into expansion. Love stabilizes because it integrates. It does not deny fear. It holds it. So, how do you elevate frequency in a grounded, authentic way? You begin by telling the truth about what you feel. You breathe into it. You allow it. You regulate your body. You question the story. You choose a response aligned with who you are becoming. This is emotional mastery, not perfection. Practice. Over time, your baseline shifts. You recover faster. You spiral less deeply. You return to center more quickly, and from that centered place, your decisions improve. When your emotional state stabilizes, life begins to reflect that stability. Not instantly, but consistently, because you are no longer reacting from old wounds. You are responding from present awareness. Fear contracts, trust expands, gratitude accelerates, love stabilizes, and you have access to all of them. Your emotions are not obstacles to your upgrade. They are the interface through which you align. Feel them, learn from them, regulate them, and then choose the frequency that matches the future you are ready to embody. Because the life you desire will require a nervous system that can hold it, and that capacity begins within. Chapter 5. I'll stop forcing the screen. Surrender. There is a subtle exhaustion that comes from trying to control everything. Controlling outcomes, controlling timelines, controlling how you're perceived, controlling how quickly things unfold. It feels responsible. It feels proactive. It even feels spiritual sometimes, like you're doing the work. But beneath the effort is tension, and tension is often fear wearing the mask of productivity. The ego believes that if it can just press the right buttons fast enough, life will cooperate, refresh, retry, recalculate, push harder. But growth does not respond to force. It responds to alignment. There is a difference between effort and resistance. Effort is inspired action from clarity. Resistance is anxious action from fear. Resistance feels urgent. Effort feels grounded. When you are forcing the screen of your life to change, you are usually operating from the belief that where you are is unacceptable, and that belief creates friction. Surrender is not giving up on your desires. It is releasing the panic around their timing. It is loosening your grip on how they must arrive. It is trusting that there is intelligence organizing your life beyond what you can currently see. Control says, I have to make this happen. Surrender says, I will do my part, and I trust what I cannot see. Control tightens the body. Surrender softens it. Control tries to micromanage the path. Surrender walks it. This does not mean passivity. It does not mean sitting still and hoping. It means acting without attachment. You show up fully. You prepare. You learn. You move. But you do not collapse if the outcome looks different than expected, because you understand something deeper. The path is shaping you as much as you are shaping it. Sometimes what you call a setback is redirection. Sometimes what you call silence is protection. Sometimes what you call delay is calibration. When you try to override timing, you often interrupt preparation. Imagine pulling bread out of the oven halfway through baking. From the outside, it looks done. Inside, it collapses. Rushing spiritual growth has the same effect. Surrender allows the internal structure to solidify. It builds resilience. It strengthens identity. It deepens faith. And faith is not blind optimism. Faith is embodied trust. It is the decision to move forward without demanding guarantees. There comes a moment in your evolution when you realize that constant striving is not power. Peace is. Peace does not mean everything is perfect. It means you are no longer fighting what is. When you stop fighting, clarity emerges. You hear intuition more clearly. You notice opportunities without chasing them. You act from inspiration rather than insecurity. Surrender creates space, and space invites guidance. The more tightly you grip something, the more anxious you become about losing it. The more you trust, the steadier you feel, regardless of outcome. Ask yourself, where am I forcing? Where am I acting from fear of not having? Where am I trying to control what is not mine to control? Then gently loosen your grip. You are not responsible for orchestrating the entire universe. You are responsible for your alignment within it. Let the update run. Trust the process beneath the surface. Trust the timing shaping your capacity. Trust the intelligence that sees what you cannot yet see. You are not here to dominate life. You are here to co-create with it, and co-creation requires partnership, not pressure. Stop forcing the screen. Return to awareness.com. Do your part. Release the rest, because what is meant for you does not require panic to arrive. It requires readiness, and surrender is what prepares you to receive it. Chapter 6. Embodying the Future Self. There is a version of you that already exists, not in fantasy, not in delusion, but in potential. The calm version, the disciplined version, the confident version, the abundant version, the deeply grounded version. Most people chase that version like it's ahead of them, somewhere in the distance, waiting at the finish line. But growth is not about chasing, it is about embodying. The future you is not built by arrival, it is built by repetition. If you want a different life, you cannot keep rehearsing the identity that created the current one. You must begin practicing the energy of who you are becoming before external evidence confirms it. This is where many people get uncomfortable. They say, I'll act confident when I feel confident. I'll relax when the money comes. I'll trust when I see proof. I'll rest when everything is secure. But that sequence keeps you trapped. External change follows internal embodiment, not the other way around. Ask yourself, if I already trusted myself, how would I move today? If I already believed I was capable, how would I speak? If I already knew I was supported, what would I release? Then act from that place, not dramatically, not performatively, but intentionally. Embodying your future self does not mean pretending problems don't exist. It means responding to them differently. The future you does not panic at every obstacle. The future you does not collapse at temporary discomfort. The future you does not negotiate with self-doubt for hours. The future you feels fear and moves anyway. The future you rests without guilt, speaks without apology, chooses without over-explaining, trusts without constant reassurance, and you access that version through practice. Identity stabilizes through repetition. If you repeatedly choose courage over avoidance, courage becomes natural. If you repeatedly choose discipline over impulse, discipline becomes identity. If you repeatedly choose peace over drama, peace becomes baseline. You don't become your future self overnight. You become them through daily micro-decisions, small choices that seem insignificant, but compound into transformation. What you tolerate teaches you who you believe you are. What you pursue reveals who you are becoming. So raise your standard gently, not harshly. Upgrade your self-talk. Upgrade your boundaries. Upgrade your environment. Upgrade your habits. Not from self-criticism, from self-respect. The future version of you is not obsessed with proving worth. They already know it. They do not beg for validation. They generate it internally. They do not overwork to feel valuable. They create from alignment. When you embody this identity, something shifts. Opportunities feel less intimidating. Decisions feel clearer. Relationships recalibrate. Because people respond to who you consistently show up as, and consistency builds credibility with others and with yourself. The key is congruence. Your thoughts, words, and actions begin to match. You say you value health, and you move your body. You say you value peace, and you avoid unnecessary conflict. You say you value growth, and you choose discomfort when it serves evolution. This alignment generates confidence, not loud confidence, grounded confidence, the kind that does not need to announce itself. You don't wait for the future to feel different. You practice feeling different now. You don't wait for life to change your identity. You allow identity to change your life. Walk as if it is unfolding, because it is. Speak as if you trust yourself, because you can. Choose as if you are worthy, because you are. The future is not chasing you. It is responding to you. And the more you embody the version of yourself who can sustain the life you desire, the more natural that life becomes. You are not becoming someone else. You are remembering who you are capable of being. Practice that version today, and watch how quickly reality begins to catch up. Chapter 7. The Integration Phase. There is a season in every transformation that feels like nothing. No visible progress. No dramatic breakthroughs. No clear confirmation that you are moving forward. Just space, silence, emptiness. And if you don't understand this phase, you will mistake it for failure. But this phase has a name. It is integration. Before every expansion, there is consolidation. Before elevation, there is grounding. Before manifestation, there is internal reorganization. You cannot continuously ascend without stabilizing at new levels of identity. Think of growth like climbing a mountain. You don't sprint straight to the summit. You climb, you pause, you adjust to the altitude. You let your body acclimate. If you don't acclimate, the height harms you. Spiritually and emotionally, the same law applies. When you release old beliefs, your system needs time to recalibrate. When you outgrow relationships, your heart needs time to settle. When you step into a new identity, your nervous system needs time to feel safe there. Integration often feels like loneliness. Old environments no longer fit. Old conversations feel shallow. Old habits feel misaligned. But the new hasn't fully formed yet. So, you stand in between. Not who you were. Not yet who you are becoming. This in-between space is sacred, but it is uncomfortable. The ego wants movement. It wants proof. It wants momentum it can measure. Integration offers none of that. It offers quiet strengthening, invisible rewiring, subtle shifts in perception. You respond more calmly than you used to. You recover faster from triggers. You notice patterns sooner. These are not loud milestones, but they are profound evidence of evolution. During integration, it may seem like opportunities slow down. It may feel like life has gone still. But stillness is not stagnation. Stillness is structure being reinforced. If expansion kept happening without integration, you would build a life your identity couldn't support, and what isn't supported collapses. So life pauses, not to punish you, but to stabilize you. You are learning to hold more responsibility, more visibility, more abundance, more peace. And holding more requires capacity. Capacity is built in quiet seasons. This is the phase where you are asked to trust without constant feedback, to remain disciplined without applause, to stay aligned without immediate reward. That is maturity, not emotional suppression, not forced positivity, but grounded patience. If you feel isolated right now, consider this. You may not be alone. You may be recalibrating. If you feel bored, uninspired, or uncertain, ask, what is settling inside me? What is solidifying? What am I no longer reacting to? Growth is not always exciting. Sometimes it is deeply ordinary. Waking up, doing the work, choosing differently, resting when needed. Integration is where identity becomes embodied, where lessons move from intellectual understanding into lived experience. You no longer say, I am learning boundaries. You simply enforce them. You no longer say, I am working on confidence. You speak. You no longer say, I am healing. You respond differently. That is integration. And it takes time. Do not rush this phase. Do not sabotage it by creating unnecessary chaos just to feel movement. Do not return to old environments because the quiet feels unfamiliar. Sit in the stillness. Let your system adjust. Let your identity root. Because when the next expansion arrives, and it will, you won't wobble under its weight. You will stand steady. Integration is not the absence of progress. It is the embodiment of it. And if nothing seems to be happening right now, everything may be rearranging beneath the surface. Trust the quiet. It is building strength you cannot yet see. Chapter 8. Error Handling as Initiation. At some point in your journey, something will go wrong. A plan will fall apart. A relationship will end. An opportunity will dissolve. A door you were certain would open will close without explanation. And in that moment, the ego will rush in with a familiar conclusion. See, you failed. You're back where you started. This isn't working. But what if the setback is not a verdict? What if it is an initiation? In every system, errors are not signs of destruction. They are signals for refinement. They reveal weak points. They expose outdated code. They highlight assumptions that can no longer carry the next level of growth. Spiritually, challenges serve the same function. They test the stability of your upgraded identity. It's easy to say you trust the process when everything flows. It's easy to feel aligned when circumstances cooperate. But who are you when the outcome disappoints you? Who are you when the timeline stretches? Who are you when your effort is not immediately rewarded? Who are you when old fears resurface? Every challenge asks one question. Will you return to the old version of yourself, or remain the upgraded one? Initiations do not feel gentle. They feel disruptive. They shake confidence. They stir doubt. They trigger old emotional patterns you thought you had outgrown. But this is not regression. It is revelation. Life reveals what is still active within you so it can be strengthened. If a small criticism destabilizes you, there is still insecurity to heal. If one rejection collapses your worth, there is still identity work to do. If a delay triggers panic, there is still attachment to timing. This is not shameful. It is clarifying. Every trigger is a teacher. Every obstacle is an invitation to respond differently than you used to. The old version of you might have spiraled, lashed out, quit prematurely, settled for less. The upgraded version pauses, breathes, reflects, chooses consciously. That pause is proof of growth. Initiation requires discomfort because comfort rarely produces evolution. Think back to moments that shaped you most deeply. They were not the easy seasons. They were the moments that demanded courage, the seasons that forced you to let go, the experiences that stripped away illusions. Those were initiations, not punishments. Life was not closing in on you. It was carving you, strengthening you, expanding your capacity. You do not become resilient by avoiding difficulty. You become resilient by meeting it without abandoning yourself. And that is the real test. Not whether you avoid errors, but whether you remain aligned through them. Setbacks reveal your level of consciousness. Do you react from fear or respond from awareness? Do you interpret the event as proof of inadequacy or as feedback for refinement? Do you collapse or recalibrate? Initiation is the moment identity stabilizes under pressure. It is when your faith moves from theory to embodiment. You no longer need everything to go perfectly to feel grounded. You trust your ability to navigate imperfection. That is power, not the absence of problems, but the presence of steadiness within them. So the next time something falls apart, resist the urge to label it failure. Ask instead, what is this strengthening in me? What old pattern is being exposed? What belief is ready to be upgraded? Because every error contains instruction, every obstacle carries refinement, and every initiation moves you closer to the version of yourself who can hold more, not just when life is smooth, but when it is uncertain. You are not being tested to break you. You are being refined to stabilize you. Stay steady. Choose consciously. Let the challenge reveal your growth, because the upgraded version of you does not disappear. Under pressure, it solidifies. Chapter 9: Network and Energy Fields. You do not grow in isolation. Even when you are physically alone, you are immersed in fields of influence. Conversations shape belief. Environments shape behavior. Relationships shape identity. Energy is contagious. Spend enough time around anxiety, and your nervous system adapts to vigilance. Spend enough time around scarcity, and limitation begins to feel normal. Spend enough time around cynicism, and possibility starts to feel naive. You don't consciously decide to absorb these patterns. You acclimate to them. Just like your body adjusts to temperature, your consciousness adjusts to atmosphere. This is why your environment matters more than you think. Not just your physical space, but your relational space. Who you confide in, who you listen to, who you allow to speak into your potential. Every room carries emotional memory. Some rooms feel heavy the moment you enter. Some feel expansive. Some make you shrink. Some make you rise. Pay attention to that. Your body often knows before your mind does. If you are committed to upgrading your identity, you must also examine your inputs. What are you consuming daily? What conversations dominate your circles? What narratives are normalized around you? If everyone around you believes success requires burnout, you may unconsciously equate exhaustion with worth. If your environment mocks vulnerability, you may armor yourself unnecessarily. If your circle fears risk, you may shrink your vision to maintain belonging. Belonging is powerful, but alignment is essential. You cannot embody a new frequency while remaining fully immersed in environments anchored in old ones. This does not mean you judge others. It means you choose intentionally. Not everyone is meant to accompany you into every season. Growth often requires recalibration of relationships. Some connections deepen, some gently fade, some shift in form. This is natural. As your identity evolves, resonance changes. You begin seeking conversations that expand you instead of drain you. You gravitate towards spaces that feel calm instead of chaotic. You choose mentors who model what you aspire to embody. You prioritize solitude over noise when necessary. Solitude is not isolation. It is intentional reset. In quiet, you hear your own frequency again. Without constant external input, your intuition strengthens. And when intuition strengthens, discernment follows. Discernment allows you to ask, does this space support who I am becoming? Does this relationship encourage growth or reinforce limitation? Does this environment stabilize my nervous system or activate old patterns? You are not obligated to remain in spaces that diminish you. You are not required to shrink to maintain familiarity. Expansion requires courage. Sometimes that courage looks like walking into new rooms where you feel like the least experienced person. Sometimes it looks like leaving rooms where you've outgrown the conversation. Remember, your nervous system learns through repetition. If you consistently place yourself in environments aligned with peace, growth, and possibility, those states become normalized. What once felt intimidating begins to feel natural. Your baseline shifts, and as your baseline shifts, your choices follow. You start making decisions from expansion instead of fear. You speak differently, think differently, expect differently, because you are no longer surrounded by constant reinforcement of limitation. This is not about superiority. It is about stewardship. You are responsible for protecting the identity you are building. You would not plant a seed in poor soil and expect it to flourish. Likewise, do not expect your upgraded self to thrive in environments that continuously challenge its stability. Choose rooms that elevate your thinking. Choose conversations that sharpen your clarity. Choose relationships that reflect your future, not your past. You are not just upgrading internally, you are recalibrating the network you plug into. And when your environment aligns with your evolution, growth accelerates, not because you forced it, but because your ecosystem finally supports it. Chapter 10, Full System Upgrade, Awakening. At some point, everything changes, not outside of you, but inside. You stop trying to force reality to match your will. You stop pushing outcomes as if life were a machine to be controlled. You stop asking, why isn't this happening for me? And begin asking, who am I becoming right now? Awakening is not a dramatic event. It is the quiet recognition that you were never the character struggling on the screen of life. You were the awareness observing the character grow. This shift is subtle, yet radical. It dissolves frustration, urgency, and fear. You begin to see patterns instead of problems, timing instead of delay, lessons instead of losses, guidance instead of judgment, and something miraculous happens. The outer world stops resisting you, not because you forced it, not because you learned a trick, not because you finally got it right, because the inner alignment you have cultivated through awareness, identity work, emotional mastery, and surrender has synchronized with your life. You no longer fight the flow. You move with it. Your nervous system, your emotions, and your beliefs are now in harmony with the version of reality you are ready to hold. The universe, reflecting this alignment, begins to respond. Awakening is recognizing that you are never behind, never inadequate, never powerless. You are simply growing into your capacity. You realize that delays were never denials, obstacles were never punishments, setbacks were never failures. They were instructions. Every challenge, every pause, every moment of doubt was a calibration, designed to bring you into resonance with your higher self. And now, You move differently. Decisions are no longer frantic. Actions are no longer reactive. Presence replaces panic. Trust replaces worrying. Faith replaces forcing. The system has upgraded. You are no longer trapped by old code, old patterns, or old fears. You are no longer waiting for permission to receive what is already yours. You are no longer defined by what happens to you, but by the consciousness through which you experience it. Awakening is the embodiment of full system alignment. You act, you respond, you create, not from striving, not from desperation, not from attachment, but from grounded certainty. You are the programmer who remembers the code. The screen is no longer mysterious or threatening. It is simply a reflection of the awareness now fully awake inside you. At this stage, life flows because you have shifted at the deepest level. Your thoughts, your emotions, your identity, and your energy are aligned. The updates you have been waiting for are complete. You are no longer stuck. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer chasing. You are awakening, and in awakening, you realize the profound truth. The programmer was never asleep. It was remembering itself. Through you, your life is not stuck. It was updating all along, and now, you finally understand why. Conclusion: the awareness behind the screen. Take a deep breath and settle into this moment. Look at your life not with judgment, not with frustration, not with urgency, but as if seeing it for the first time. All the delays, all the obstacles, all the moments that felt like failure or stagnation, they were never punishments. They were calibrations, integration, preparation. The screen was never your enemy. The external world was never holding your potential hostage. The silence was never abandonment. Everything you have experienced has been a teacher. Every challenge has been an initiation. Every pause, every setback, every moment of discomfort has been refining your capacity to hold more of yourself. Now you can see it clearly. There is no separate system. There is no external force controlling your future. There is only consciousness, your consciousness experiencing itself through you. You are the awareness behind the screen, the programmer of your own evolution. You were never stuck. You were updating. You were never behind. You were becoming, and now you understand why. The journey does not end here. Awareness continues to expand as long as you remain willing to notice. Growth will continue as long as you choose alignment over reaction. And life will continue to respond to the frequency you embody. So breathe, observe, trust, act when inspired, release when needed, and remember, the most powerful reality you will ever create comes not from forcing change, but from being awake to who you already are. You are not your thoughts, your circumstances, or the character on the screen. You are the conscious presence witnessing the evolution of all of it. The programmer was never asleep. It was awakening. Your life isn't stuck. It's updating. And now, you are awake to it?